1953, a 19-year-old boy named Tommy Lee Walker had his life wrongfully taken when he was convicted and sentenced to death row for the rape and murder of Venus Parker, a woman he had never met before in his life. Walker's conviction relied heavily on a confession in which he was pressured into making by police. It wasn't until decades after Tommy's life was taken that the evidence and alibis arose that proved his innocence. Tommy Lee Walker was a son, a partner, and a father of a 2-year-old boy. My question to you is, would Walker have been here to raise his son if capital punishment was abolished? Would all of the innocent fathers, mothers, and daughters and sons be here? As a student studying for an associate's in criminal justice, I've always been fascinated by the controversial errors in the criminal justice system. The death penalty has taken a lead thus far. Capital punishment origins date back to as far as 1608. It wasn't until July 2nd, 1972 that it was officially reinstated in the U.S. As of 2026, the death penalty is legal in 27 states, and 23 of them has had it abolished. There are substantial reasons as to why almost half the states in the U.S. have abolished the death penalty from within their legal systems. The most collective one is that it is viewed as a violation of human rights. In addition, there has been a history and an ongoing risk of executing the innocent. It is remarkably more expensive than life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, and overall there is a lack of credible evidence that it deters crime better than life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The death penalty is commonly viewed as the ultimate cruel and inhumane and degrading punishment which strips away human rights by denying the fundamental capacity for rehabilitation and redemption of the individual. If the person being convicted is not allowed to decide the threshold of life and death of another, then the state should not have that power either. To put it in perspective, according to Bradley Curtis of the Duke Law Journal, the United States is almost alone among nations in permitting the execution of juvenile offenders. He states that there have been multiple failed attempts in labeling this act as a violation of international law. Therefore, it is not only legal to take away a human life, but a child's at that. Now envision a child or a young teen on death row for a crime that they did not commit. Naturally, it is extremely difficult to prove one's innocence after a conviction in the U.S., much less after they have already been executed. Only a few cases have been formally recognized as wrongful. According to the study by the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNSA, researchers from the University of Michigan and Pennsylvania estimated that at least 4.1% of all defendants sentenced to death in the U.S. were wrongful. This does not include all of the cases that have gone unsolved. Not only do the states have the power to take away someone's life, but when they do so wrongfully, there are no repercussions. In addition, the death penalty is significantly more expensive than life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, capital punishment costs taxpayers anywhere from 2 to 10 times more than non-capital punishments. This is due to the fact that the capital cases require specific qualified defense teams, jury selection, and intensive investigations. The legal system also mandates that automatic appeals, which can last for decades. Lastly, death row inmates are typically placed in higher security facilities with more expensive staffing and operational requirements. Not only is the death penalty more expensive than non-capital punishments, but there's no credible evidence that it deters crime better than the later. According to Amy Swift with the Law and Critique, the death penalty is defined as a relation to time, specifically as relation of mastery over the time of life of the other. With the concept in this mind, there are other alternatives to match this purpose: life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. To further expand, nearly 88% of leading criminologists do not believe the death penalty acts as a proven deterrent to homicide, and police chiefs constantly rank the death penalty as the least effective tool to reduce violent crimes. In conclusion, not only does the death penalty strip away individuals of human rights, but there's cases of them doing so wrongfully with no repercussions. Capital punishment is not only more expensive than, but also less effective than, life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. I said it once and I'll say it again. If the individual being convicted is not allowed to decide the threshold of life and death of another, then the state should not have that power either. True wrongs do not make